Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Moose, I can't wait to have you down here. It looks very similar to a lot of Canadian university football stadiums, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the palm trees in the north end zone, which is a nice touch. So anyway, I stopped by there, took a photo, and it actually served as the photo for my Weekend 10 Things column, which you can read at rodpeterson.com, was very popular. Moving along. This was just, a lazy Saturday hanging out at Pompano Beach, Florida. Shout out to my friend Rob Fry and his wife Christina. They were down here recently. I said, you got to check out Pompano Beach. So there's that. That was just a Saturday. And then lastly for me, Sunday, out for a walk. Stopped by this beauty. Should RP get another Jeep? I don't know who put that on our social media story, Instagram story, but I like it. They're asking $3,000 for this thing, Moose, but it doesn't have a motor in it. And I got to tell you, I paid $3,000 for Big Bird. Yeah, $3,000 for Big Bird has provided me endless enjoyment, but I'm not spending $3,000 for a hunk of metal they got to drop an engine in. By the way, the weekend photo album is for Great Western Brewing Company. Extra smooth, extra refreshing. Find Original 16 at a store near you today. So it's a thumbs down on buying that Jeep. Over to you, sir. What do you got here?
Yeah, this was Sunday. This was yesterday at the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. Went and checked out the Banff Mountain Film Festival. They do a tour all over Canada and take their little short films that have been nominated. And so we went and saw that 2.5 hours last night. Really, really cool. Some really cool independent films there. I like to do that every year. And then on Saturday, the night before, I was at the Rush and Roughnecks game. Calgary Roughnecks winning that game over Saskatchewan 8-6. They've won all 3 meetings against the Rush this year. So the Roughnecks look like they're rolling towards the playoffs. The Rush are in some trouble.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
The Canadian men's soccer team is booking its ticket for Qatar. I said I would get on board if Canada made the World Cup, and they have. And I've fallen down the rabbit hole of the coach, John Herdman. John Herdman, like he's putting himself on the Mount Rushmore of Canadian sports, and he's not even from here. I love it. I love the story. Yeah, I'm late to the party. I'm on board, Moose. I said I'd get on board if they did it, and they did it.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show for a Tuesday, March the 29th. Very big day. And in a few moments, we'll tell you why. It is episode number 726 of your favorite daytime sports and entertainment talk show. And I hope you're settling in and having fun on this Tuesday so far. We're broadcasting on Game Plus TV Network and live streaming on YouTube and digitally broadcasting audio, sports radio at rodpeterson.com/listen live. Let's bring in the Moose, the orchestrator of it all, Darren, the conductor. That's what it is. Darren Moose DuPont joins us. You changed. What's up? You cold?
I just added a hoodie on. Yeah, a little chilly, so I put on a sweater.
Well, I'm glad you just take care of yourself, man. I'm maybe suffering heat stroke down here, 31 degrees Celsius. It's a hot one today, and we do have breaking news that I'll get to here in the Quick Six show topics, but I'm just so darn excited because the Florida Panthers are home to the Montreal Canadiens today, and our daily feature of here's what they're talking about on Miami Sports Radio. Today, I mentioned in our meeting with you earlier that we're talking about Claude Giroux making his Florida Panthers home debut tonight. They don't talk about Ben Sherratt at all, because he's a big, lanky defenseman. Nobody cares about them. It's Claude Giroux tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm very excited about that. Coming up on the program to help us talk about all these things and some topics that I'm going to get to are Hustler Paterson from Winnipeg Sports Talk. Believe it or not, we're going to get into some NFL with Hustler plus NHL. With the passing of Eugene Melnyk, the Ottawa Senators owner, AJ Jakubec is going to be good enough to join us from the Canadian national capital. AJ is the voice of the Ottawa Redblacks, Ottawa Fury soccer team, and also the pre- and post-game host for the Ottawa Senators. Very busy guy. AJ found some time for us today, and Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio. It's been far too long since we've chatted with Scotty, so he's coming up. Are you ready, Moose, for the Quick Six show topics?
You betcha. Let's go.
Hit it, please. Director Jordan, let's go. We're gonna open with Monday NHL leftovers, and then we'll get into the NHL topic that I really want to get into. Ryan McLeod had 2 goals and an assist as the Edmonton Oilers defeated the Arizona Coyotes 6-1 for their 7th straight home win. And with the loss, the Coyotes were eliminated from playoff contention. It was their 6th defeat in a row. They're the first team out before the playoffs even started. In Washington, the Carolina Hurricanes gave the Capitals something to think about if they meet down the line in the playoffs. Martin Necas scored twice. Sebastian Aho added his 29th goal, and the Hurricanes routed the Capitals 6-1 in a potential first-round preview. Carolina, which leads the Met, moved a point ahead of Florida in the back-and-forth race for the top seed in the Eastern Conference, which would likely mean a series against the Capitals. I don't know if they showed the highlights on SportsCenter or not, but there was a punch-up at the end of the game. I think it was Licorice Legs got hurt late in the game. I'm not sure, but it was a fisticuff ending in Washington last night between the Canes and the Caps. There weren't that many games. In St. Louis, I watched this one. Vladimir Tarasenko had 2 goals and an assist, leading St. Louis over Vancouver 4-1. Blues are good. They probably would qualify as the West Conference dark horse, and the New York Rangers would be the East Conference dark horse, I think. And in Chicago, that toddle in town, Tage Thompson scored the tie-breaking goal on a fortunate bounce with 10 seconds to go, and Buffalo rallied from 4 down to beat Chicago 6-5. That's point 1. Point 2, some NHL notes. The Ottawa Senators will take to the ice with heavy hearts tonight when they face the Nashville Predators. Last night, owner Eugene Melnyk died at age 62, following what the club said was, quote, an illness he faced with determination and courage, unquote. Melnyk has owned the Senators since 2003. I was surprised to learn that he was only 62. Of course, a lot of people wanting to know what he passed away from. The team and the family clearly don't want people to know. That's in their statement. I remember this when a fairly hallowed CFL coach passed away. I talked to one of his relatives, and I said, what did he pass of? And the guy said, why does it matter? Good point. So you asked if we had any Eugene Melnyk thoughts, and I really don't. Like, I'm not a Senators fan at all. Like I said, he's only Senator since 2003. It just seems like every story emanating from Ottawa was not positive regarding Eugene Melnyk and the ownership of that team. But he passed at 62, so he's due the courtesy and the condolences and the remembrance. But I don't have a lot of reflections on Eugene. As I said to you in the morning meeting, let's let AJ talk about him. He knew him. Yeah.
No, I know. Did they get to 1 Stanley Cup final with Eugene Melnyk as the? Yeah, got to the 1. Yeah. They had some good years in those early 2000s, like when he first came in. You know, I believe those were the Alfredson years. I don't know if that was the Alexa Yashin experiment or not, but they had some really good competitive teams throughout the time. But yeah, things waned a little bit. Had trouble getting people in the building. But you know, we'll see. I think the future for the Ottawa Senators is bright.
Okay, the Greek Freak's watching. He says, he would have to point this out. He says, sorry, Roddy, the Habs were eliminated last weekend. Okay. How about first West Conference team eliminated? Jennifer, also from the Four Seasons, writes in and says, the Oilers looked good last night, but then again, it's the Yotes. I thought that too. 6-1, it's only Arizona, and that's unfortunate that you look at it that way. But you can only beat the teams that are on your schedule. Sometimes, especially this time of year, I think you need a slump buster, a confidence builder. But we've talked enough about the Oilers. They're going to be in the playoffs, it would appear. They're only 2 points back of the Kings. But it won't be a long-lived playoff life, I don't think. James, watching in Manitoba, says, my father was Eugene Melnyk's business partner. He might be somebody that we'd want to talk to. Because, like I say, I'm just interested to hear from Aaron, Jacob, Jakubec in hour 2, because he'll have more stories on that. And moving on, another note, a vote of confidence for Martin St. Louis. Montreal GM Kent Hughes says the club would like to retain St. Louis as their head coach. The Habs 10-7-4 since Martin replaced Dominic Ducharme on February 9th, but have been eliminated from playoff contention. Oh, there it is, George, the Greek freak. There you go. I will be watching the Habs very closely tonight to see how they play in all three zones as a team. Did they give Dominic Ducharme a vote of confidence at any point? Like, when you get a vote of confidence, it's usually the kiss of death. So I'll just see how they play tonight under Martin St. Louis. That's a beautiful thing about being in an NHL market. You can go to these games and see for yourself and not have to listen to the insiders. But speaking of the insiders, the GM meetings, the NHL GM meetings are going on here in South Florida. I looked it up, 23 kilometers from where I sit right now. Maple Leafs GM Kyle Dubas and the league's other 31 GMs heard from Director of Officiating Stephen Wacom on Monday as part of their first in-person meeting since COVID hit. This is my third point of the Quick Six show topics. Dubas and the Leafs were left seething earlier this month when a blatant holding penalty against Austin Matthews was ignored on the deciding sequence in an overtime loss to the Arizona Coyotes. This is where it gets good. The NHL's leading goal scorer has the puck on his stick often and gets plenty of attention from defenders, but has drawn an absurdly low 9 infractions this season. That puts him at a tie for 304th for penalties drawn, on par with the likes of Curtis Lazar and Warren Foegele. Oilers star Connor McDavid, on the other hand, has seen a league-high 44 penalties called against opponents checking him. Many have come after the issue was raised publicly by the Edmonton captain. I'm like, who wrote this story? Harold Ballard? It's like, where? Austin's getting picked on. Carter bitches and he gets the calls. So Dubas spoke to the media yesterday in Manalapan, Florida, and he added that he understands the difficulty of officiating an NHL game and how thankless the job is by nature. Dubas pointed out taking issue with officials is universal in sports. So what are we saying here? That it's a tough job and spit happens, or that Austin Matthews is being unfairly picked on by NHL referees? I would think that it might be the latter. That's just me. You look at Connor's cross-check to the head of Rasmus Dahlin from Buffalo. We got 2 games. Remember when McDavid cross-checked Licorice Legs in the head a year or 2 ago? I don't think he got anything.
Yeah,
he might have got a penalty. Yes.
Right.
So before I get your take,
Connor's ever been.
Well, just hang on. The poll question today for Capital Automall Universal Collision Center. Capital has dealerships all across the prairies. Do the Maple Leafs have a legitimate beef for the lack of calls against Austin Matthews? And it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. I put it up like an hour ago, and the last I looked, 76% of respondents say no, the Leafs don't have a legitimate beef. I voted no. They don't. But I don't watch every Leafs game. I told you I watched them last week, and I was pretty impressed by Austin Matthews' defensive play. I was impressed by the team. But you can take it away. I have more thoughts, but I'm just going to vote no on that. And it just came across to me as a lot of whining from the GM. But where are you as the resident Leafs fan?
You know, I'd vote no too. But I'm pretty consistent with that across all players in the NHL. You know, I don't think whining gets you anywhere, and I hate seeing it. I don't like it. I don't like crying to the media. I don't like talking about it after the fact. You know, and this was always what I heard, you know, for a while coming out of Edmonton. You know, it was a lot of, you know, why isn't this penalty being called against McDavid? You know, these calls aren't being made against McDavid. And it was a bit of an issue, but maybe it worked because now he's getting all the penalties called against him. Maybe it'll work in Toronto. But I think that always happens with the Stars because when you're that much better, it's really difficult. People are going to grab you. They got to try and slow you down. So you're going to feel like there should be more penalties called than actually is.
Chipping in the chat, BW, I believe he's in Edmonton, writes in, he says, Eugene Melnyk was this generation's Harold Ballard. Randy from the Peg writes in and says, from what I heard about Eugene, he gave a lot to charities. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to hear a lot of great things about Eugene Melnyk. I don't have an opinion, good or bad. Never met the guy. Don't know anything about the guy. Sad that he passed at the age of 62. But you asked me earlier this morning about Gretzky, and even between Gretzky and Matthews, about Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby. And Sid, for years, did complain to officials, and let's be honest, he did draw a lot of attention. Wayne Gretzky, which you guys are all too young to remember, but he was habitually called a whiner, mostly by fans of every other team. But Wayne, while he did get hacked and whacked, and mauled, and he played in a different era, but they had Dave Semenko and Marty McSorley. So it's one thing to obstruct a guy. Right. It's another to, I think we've lost the video feed for Moose, so you just keep talking. I don't know what's going on there. But he stepped out. Okay. Oh, did he get a phone call? Anyways.
No, I'm back. Am I back?
What happened?
Am I back?
What happened? Yeah, you're back.
At some point, I pulled out the power cord of my computer, and it was just giving me a low battery warning. So I was trying to subtly tell the boys, just take me off for like 20 seconds. I can hear Rod. Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know if you guys noticed. I pulled out my earphones about 25 seconds ago, but we lost the cue. You guys forgot the cue. I guess so.
If I start picking my nose, I've lost power.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that would be a more significant cue. Anyways, back in the day, while Gretzky did put up with some harassment, overall, you didn't touch Wayne because you would then have to deal with Dave Semenko and Marty McSorley, and that's just not the way the game is played anymore. And while I would like to consider myself somewhat of a Renaissance person, and I'm willing to adapt, I'm not an NHL coach. I don't watch enough Leafs games. It just, to me, comes across as a lot of whining. But don't you think, though, Rod's rant, okay, for Bronco Plumbing and Heating, why not? That if you do complain, it's going to go one of two ways. The refs are either going to listen, maybe he's right, and get the calls, or they're going to ram it even more where the sun don't shine. I think there's a chance that might be happening.
Well, for sure. And I remember that being a thing with Nazem Kadri. And the Brad Marchands and other pests that have some skill. But, when guys dive and the officials go and watch game film, just like the teams do, and they go and look and they're like, Brad really made us look bad last night. Nazem really made us look bad last night diving. So the next time they're on the ice, when, Brad Marchand or when one of these guys is high stick, is tripped, is held, they're not going to get the call because the referee's like, you made me look bad last time. My first instinct is that you're actually faking it or you're diving, and they don't get the call. So I think that plays into it. When people whine and stuff, some officials go the other way and make sure that I don't even give you the call the next time. So it's all about relationship.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, says Wayne had McSorley and Semenko. Hard to say what he would be like in today's NHL. I think he would have scored 4,000 points in today's NHL because you aren't really allowed to obstruct guys like that. We had that discussion with Lanny McDonald and Theo Fleury, and it's a fantastic conversation. I will say one more because, you folks say y'all like my stories. When I was calling major junior games and even the CFL games for years, all my incessant complaining about officiating never really changed anything. It probably did just make it worse. And I'll never forget, you've heard me bring up the name Mike Hassenfratz. You don't know who he is, but he was a legendary WHL official who went on to the NHL. He's living in Nashville now. But when I was living in Saskatoon, and Hazy was in the dub, we ran into each other in the parking lot of the Shoppers Drug Mart in Greenfields on 8th Street. July, sunny day. And Hazy, if you knew him, leaned against his Caprice Classic, took a drag from his dart, and he's like, yeah, the guys are kind of upset for you roasting them on the radio. You might want to pull back on that. And I said, tell them to be better and shut up. I probably shouldn't have done that, but anyways, the refs hear it. Trust me, they hear it. And it didn't make any difference. And I don't think it's going to make any difference for Austin Matthews. Look, we got breaking news from the CFL. Touchdown Atlantic was announced today. When we come back, we'll talk about what the Blue Jays did yesterday, what the Raptors did last night, Canadian men's soccer team, and then sink in a little more deeply on Touchdown Atlantic. was announced officially this morning. We'll be right back. This is the warm-up, and you're watching the RP Show on the Game Plus Television Network, YouTube Live, and 24-hour sports radio at rodpeterson.com.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Peterson Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Some of the challenges we face with the CT technology that we have today is some of the deficiencies in around integration with some of our other systems. The addition of 2 new 4D simulators within the programming at the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency is going to have significant impact on the care we provide to the people of Saskatchewan.
Sunday, April 10th. Get tickets now at mosaicplace.ca and sasktix.ca. Are you ready? It's finally time for your next adventure, and it starts at Capital GMC. Custom order the perfect new vehicle for you, or reserve one of the hundreds that's already built and on its way. Can't wait? Get into a GM-certified pre-owned vehicle that's on our lot and ready to rock. Plus, the American Export event is back and bigger than ever. We'll send your vehicle south, making you the most money for your trade. Guaranteed. Oh, and for a limited time, all name brand tires are employee priced. Only at Capital GMC. Your adventure starts here.
Number 16. A legend throws 713 yards in a single pro football game.
A legend wins 3 Grey Cup MVP awards.
Allen looking deep.
A legend scores 1,209 points in 1,127 NHL games. Play among legends at betregal.net.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
1 degree Celsius down in South Florida today. Want to tell you promotional consideration for the RP Show brought to you in part by Tough Tribe for Men. It was designed to meet the unique demands of clean professional grooming. The warm scent of a gentleman's shampoo teams up with an invigorating cool peppermint conditioner. Top that off with a little beard and hair pomade to start your day feeling fresh and confident. ToughTribeForMen.com is where you can order yours. That's the number 4, ToughTribeForMen.com. And Amazon Canada. Mine was, as I said, confiscated at the border coming into the United States. So I'm holding my hair together with spit and elastic bands, Moose, until I see you next with the latest Tough Tribe order. And by the way, we had a manufactured rant in the opening segment there regarding Austin Matthews and the lack of calls. It should be Kyle Dubas's rant, brought to you by Bronco Plumbing and Heating and Cooling. To schedule maintenance or to learn more about their services, call 306-781-2090 or visit them at broncoplumbing.com. Before we get to the football, to point 4, Samad Taylor homered in the 8th inning as part of a late Toronto comeback, but the Blue Jays fell to the Atlanta Braves 5-4 in spring training action Monday. Greg Bird and Kellen Deglin both had a hit and drove in a run for Toronto. Have you heard of these guys? Greg Bird and Kellen Deglin? It's like
they're new.
The groundskeepers in the movie Major League. Who are these guys?
I know.
Starter Sean Anderson allowed a run and fan 3 with 3 walks over 3 innings. To point 5, Pascal Siakam was a one-man show for the Raptors Monday night. He had a season-high 40 points and 13 boards as Toronto claimed a 115-112 home OT win over the Boston Celtics. And the World Cup-bound Canadian men's soccer team was honored during the game. 23 players took to center court following a video tribute and received a standing ovation. The Canadians downed Jamaica 4-0 on Sunday to clinch the country's second-ever World Cup berth and first since 1986, in case you hadn't heard. And here we go. Breaking news from the Canadian Football League this morning. I'm reading from a news release from the CFL. The East Coast's biggest celebration of football, Touchdown Atlantic, will return to the region on Saturday, July 16th, as the Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the Toronto Argonauts. Acadia University's Raymond Field will be expanded to welcome 10,000 fans in Nova Scotia's first ever CFL regular season contest. The lead up to the main event will feature 3 days of fun-filled football festivities to build excitement and anticipation for the big game. Commissioner Randy Ambrosi said in a statement, "We're so thrilled to welcome CFL football to Nova Scotia, and we couldn't be more excited for the return of Touchdown Atlantic. Come for the game and stay for a vacation." All the details of the game, of the parties, are up at rodpeterson.com right now. It's the top item running. And I think it's exciting. We're getting some invitations to be there for it. It's July 16th. That's a Saturday, Moose. So it's something for us to think about. All of a sudden now, people will be booking their flights, buying their tickets, and they better get on it because 10,000 isn't a lot to watch Canada's team versus the Argos. So it's back. This is exciting. Some of the most exciting news I would suggest in the CFL all winter.
Really, it is. I mean, sports in general needs to be a destination, an event, and this just does that, right? I mean, it creates a wonderful opportunity for folks in Atlantic Canada to embrace the CFL, and you know, I would hope and expect this thing to be sold out. So I hope fans jump on their tickets. I hope they support it. I really hope there's an opportunity for us to be out there. It would be great. I've never been out to Atlantic Canada, so what a great reason to do so. And, you know, the football is going to be back. It's going to be better. 2 good teams. I think it's going to be fun. So, you know, whether or not, and this is irrelevant, whether or not Atlantic Canada is going to get a 10th team in the CFL or not, this is going to be a fun event this year.
Oh, boy. I mean, man, did you hit on one of my favorite topics, which is CFL expansion. And there will be a lot of talk after the game, I would think. I would hope. Yeah. About an expansion team for the Atlantic region. This, if we go, would be my 4th time to the Maritimes. I've been out there for the Memorial Cup. I Touchdown Atlantic, a family holiday. So, yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. Jeff the Stamps fan with a question. He says, why did the CFL choose Saskatchewan and Toronto? Probably for a couple of reasons. Number one, they were supposed to be in the last Touchdown Atlantic in the canceled season, for one. For 2, the Argos for years didn't want to give up that home game against Saskatchewan because it was their highest drawing game of the year in Toronto. It was a real moneymaker for them. So somebody must have twisted their arm and felt that this was the most marquee opponent that they could have, would be my guess. The other thing is Saskatchewan's never been there. That was one thing that I always wanted to do, and I saw the other teams go. I saw Edmonton go. I saw Calgary go. Why can't we be in this? And now they are. They're one of the last teams to not be in it. By the way, Wayne in Victoria, BC says, did you say 1 degree Celsius in South Beach, Florida, Rod? That's 6 degrees cooler than Victoria. No, Wayne. Wiki. It's 31 degrees Celsius. Did you hear it, Moose? Did I say 1? No, I couldn't have said 1 degree.
Can I give Wayne a pass? Yeah, I'll give Wayne a pass. Your mic just chopped for a half a second, and the 30 part didn't pick up over the air. So it did sound like 1 degree Celsius, but I knew better.
We're both right. I said 31. He heard 1. It's 31 degrees Celsius. You're not going to see that many people on the beach for 1 degree Celsius. Trust me. Our Navy friend Don watching says, Wolfville is a cute little town. You'll enjoy it. From Robin watching in the sticks, he says, now with Touchdown Atlantic announcement, will the Atlantic Schoolers talk ramp up again? Did it ever really die? I was thinking about this the other day. 40 years now, they've been talking about expansion to Atlantic Canada. 40 years. And from what I see, I still have some friends working for the Schooners. I had a guy text me the other day and asked me, do you have any friends still at SSE? I wrote him back. I said, who the hell's SSE? He goes, Schooners Sports and Entertainment. I said, I don't know. I haven't heard from them forever. Like, it's still a thing? I mean, people still talking about it. But Chris Bird watching in King City, Ontario says, Canada's team versus Canada's team. How about that?
How about that?
Oh, here we go. John Kirby in Edmonton. Here we go. John Kirby in Edmonton says 10,000 will be the biggest crowd Toronto's ever played in front of. And your mic just clipped out. What did you just say? Say it again.
No, I didn't. I just laughed and was waiting for the ba-dum-boom.
Oh, and you got it. You got it. By the way, the text line is open, 902-518-3033. Pick up the phone and text RP, 902-518-3033. George Carter is watching in Montreal, and he texts the 902 line, and I'm reading this verbatim. I have not looked at it first. He says, George from Montreal here, not a Habs fan. Bring back the Nordique. Hi, guys. Awesome show as usual. Regarding rule tweaks for the CFL, what are your thoughts on drive-killing penalties like holding, going from 10 to 5 yards? It's a killer in this 3-down game, I find. Thanks, guys. Go Owls. He was the guy that invited us to Montreal way back in the summertime. I mean, he asked us to come out for the home opener. And for whatever reason, we didn't do it, but it didn't stop us from breaking into the stadium on an off day, if you recall.
What a time. I remember that well.
Robin in Prince Albert says, with the CFL expansion to the Atlantic, either poop or get off the pot. LOL. That's kind of what I'm sitting around here for. Al Broderick's watching on YouTube, wants to start a holy war. He says, I would love expanding the CFL. And with 4 downs as well. We're going to go down that road? No, we're not going to go down that road today. But I think it would be a lot of fun for us to be out there. The fact is we're scheduled to be at the Calgary Stampede, correct? Do we have the dates of the Calgary Stampede?
They're in July, I think, but I don't know. I don't have the dates in front of me. But yeah, there's a lot of things on the dance card, right? I mean, July, we've got that. There's Canada Games in August, and the World Juniors are in August, and Atlanta, going to Atlantic Canada for the Maritimes for Touchdown Atlantic would be awesome. We could add that to the dance card. So we'll have to see, who's stepping up to the table and bringing us where.
Yes. So that's our talk about Touchdown Atlantic. We're already getting some invitations to go there. I think that it would be fun. Riders and Argos. The last time I was there, I've told the stories many times, was 2019. It was in Moncton. Argos Alouettes. And it was a big time. I could sit and tell those stories forever, too. Like, for instance, the Alouettes came in a few days early, and they had a big, what do you call it? Lobster fry, something like that on the Saturday night. Team was all there. Fans were invited. And the Argos, I was at one of their team parties, and it was just big fun. Kahari Jones is such a cool guy. Rick Moffat was there, their radio guy at the time. That was at the Saturday night event. It was awesome. The Argos, for whatever reason, didn't come in until Sunday morning. People said that they were too cheap to pay to spend a night or two extra of hotels. And as I recall, Montreal won on the last play of the game in front of, that was like 11,000, 12,000, I think. They didn't fill the end zones. But those are just fun games. And that's the one thing that I remember about Atlantic Canada. There was not a ton of buzz on the radio or in the market about the game, but the media that was there was very excited. Like there was a scrum with the commissioner, Randy Ambrosi, and a local female reporter from the TV station was like, well, what are we going to see here on Sunday? We don't get pro sports around here very much. And I'm like, good point. We're pretty lucky where we are that we have that. They don't have that out there. But the studies, the Angus Reid polls that I've seen have said that it's more of an NFL region than a CFL region. And once I got out there and spent some time there, I'm like, I can see why. CFL hasn't really tried to come out here but for one weekend a year, and that's just over the last several years, not for 100 years. So, Jeff, the Stamps fan, and Roger Yee both write in and say the Calgary Stampede is July 9th to the 18th. There's a chance maybe we could do both. I don't know. Or, I don't know. Sounds like we got to have a meeting to have a meeting.
We got to have a meeting.
We're almost out of time here. I just want to mention one other thing coming out of the NHL GM meetings on Monday. Sheldon Kennedy, it sounds like they had a very productive day. Sheldon Kennedy addressed all the NHL GMs. We mentioned the Stephen Walkham officiating thing. He had a presentation too. I don't know if you read the coverage. I was reading it all this morning. Sheldon is supporting a more open workplace environment so that something like the Chicago Blackhawks situation with a video coach doesn't happen again. And I get that. I don't have a lot of hopes, and we really have to break here and bring in our next. I don't have a lot of hopes that that's going to happen. Similar to the NFL GM meetings here where they've added that you must hire a minority on your offensive staff. You must. They've included females now to go along with races. When they brought in the Rooney Rule, this was what I was watching this morning of the coverage. It hasn't gone the way they'd hoped. It did not get the predicted results that they'd hoped. There's less black coaches than there's ever been in the National Football League, and this is after 20 years of the Rooney Rule. And to have more openness, we would like you to be able to speak more freely in the workplace to your superiors. Right. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, we'll kick that around more when you join us later, Moose, all right?
Good idea.
When we come back, Hustler Paterson out of Winnipeg. It's a Tuesday. It's the RP show, and you're watching on Game Plus TV Network, live streaming on YouTube. And as always, if you missed any portion of the show, you can catch the podcast wherever you enjoy your podcasts, including Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Peterson Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
People donate blood for moments like this.
But there are lots of reasons why Canada's Lifeline needs donors every day.
Like the fact that someone with leukemia can need up to 8 units of blood a week.
Or that donated blood lasts no longer than 42 days.
Or to help new moms and babies, like Henry.
There's lots of reasons to donate blood. That's why we need donors every day.
The need for blood is constant. Join Toyota and our Toyota dealers in supporting Canada's Lifeline.
Don't rack your brain trying to source the equipment and materials you need for your business. Rockstar can operate your entire supply chain, from PO creation to expediting your shipments, all from our office. Leverage the buying power of the Rockstar buying group to not only save money and time, but also the headache. From gloves to glue, we can provide it for you. Find out more at rockstar.com.
Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Big time, big time, big time, big time.
A legend throws 713 yards in a single pro football game.
A legend wins 3 Grey Cup MVP awards.
Allen looking deep.
A legend scores 1,209 points in 1,127 NHL games. Play among legends at betregal.net.
Universal Collision Center is Saskatchewan's premier auto body shop. Our extensive process ensures that every vehicle that comes through our state-of-the-art facilities is returned pre-accident condition, and that every UCC customer experience is an easy one. We're certified to repair all makes, all models, and all luxury brands, and Universal Auto Spa offers full-service detailing packages to suit you and your vehicle. Plus, we're the official body shop of your Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Universal Collision Center, 3910 Rochdale Boulevard and 2355 First Avenue in Regina. Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Experts in all residential and commercial plumbing services, and proudly serving Regina and area since 1978. Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We'll treat you right.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
RP Show continues on this Tuesday, episode number 726 of Daytime Sports Talk. And we've got a lot of questions and comments have come in on the text line and in the chat. We'll save those for a little later in Viewer Takeover as we welcome in from Winnipeg Sports Talk, the wildly popular show out of the Manitoba capital. Hustler Paterson, our good friend Hustler, joins us. I'm going to dive right into it, Huss, if you don't mind. Winnipeg Jets off tonight. It's been a busy stretch for them. 2 points out of a playoff spot, as you know. Is this the most maddening or confusing Jets team that you've ever followed in your lifetime?
Yes. Yeah, very quickly to the point, yes. I will say the second half of the 2019 season probably is right up there, Rod. That was a team, you'll recall, had been to the conference championship the season before, was, I believe, second overall at the turn of the calendar into the new year, and just sort of went into malaise, as Paul Maurice liked to say, for about the last 3 months of the season, and ended up bowing out to St. Louis on their way to winning the Stanley Cup. But yeah, expectations are really high this year. I mean, we talked so much about the deficiencies on the blue line last year. Kevin Cheveldayoff went out, spent $10 million to add Nate Schmidt and Brendan Dillon to the unit, and I think everyone sort of thought that that was what this team needed to, at minimum, be a playoff team. But many people thought this team could legitimately be a Stanley Cup contender. And there's been no consistency this year. They still haven't won 3 games in a row since the first week of January. And with the predicament that they put themselves in, that is not going to cut it right now. So it's now or never for the Jets to go on an absolute tear. And they've got some tough games coming up with Tampa and Carolina and Florida around the corner, Rod. So there's no more outs for the Winnipeg Jets. They got to win. They got to win often. And frankly, they need a lot of help from teams playing the likes of the Dallas Stars in this final month of the season.
Well, I hope that the fans in Winnipeg are enjoying the playoff hockey now, because they're in playoff hockey now. What you just said, they can't afford any losses, so it's must-win mode every night. But listen, even if they do make the playoffs, I don't think they're going too far. I mean, if they do miss, I'm starting to hear some media pundits saying there needs to be changes. Do you anticipate? There's obviously going to be a new coach. But would it go higher than that if they miss the playoffs with this bunch?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think there's been real questions about the core of this team, the leaders of this team for a while. And, when you look at the contract situation, and Mark Scheifele's the obvious guy in that, listen, he's a very, very productive player, Rod. I mean, even on what I think he and most people would recognize as sort of a down year for him, he's still going to be up there, putting up the points that he needs. It's just what's happened everywhere else. I mean, he's got a career worst plus-minus number at the bottom of the team's list. And here's what it comes down to for the Winnipeg Jets big picture. If you think that Mark Scheifele is going to be your guy, I mean, he's going to be the next captain of the team. He's going to be the guy that's taken over for Blake Wheeler. You keep him and you do what you can to sign him to a big money deal, and he plays here for his entire career. But I think there are legitimate questions as to whether he is that guy, whether a change of scenery might be good for him. And if you're in Kevin Cheveldayoff's shoes, Rod, and you think, okay, in 2 years, Mark Scheifele's not going to be with us. He's not going to be the guy for us any longer. We're not going to be signing a massive extension. Then I think you have to look at read the room and realize that with 2 years left on his contract at a very affordable deal of $6.1 million and a guy in Pierre-Luc Dubois that is, well, to some people already taken over the number one center job, a move like that with what it does to the leadership group, the chemistry in the room, and what you can bring in for the next few years, I think it certainly makes a compelling argument that has to be considered. But make no mistake about it, that sort of a deal would be monumental for the franchise. There's been very few deals that would have been of that magnitude over the course of these 11 years. And it could be a make or break move for Kevin Cheveldayoff now, who's been 11 years into this job as the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets.
Thumbs up or down for what the Jets did at the trade deadline? I think it was 5 trades on that Monday, and we're all sitting there scratching our head going, did they get better? Did they get worse? What happened here? How did you grade that?
Well, listen, I think I give a slight thumbs up because of the situation. I mean, not moving Andrew Kopp. And I said this at the start of the year, Rod. I mean, there was high expectations, and everyone was talking about Kopp being on the one-year deal. And I said a number of times, listen, if we're talking about trading Andrew Kopp at the deadline, that means something this season has gone seriously wrong. Well, this is exactly what had happened. And, you got a guy that had significant value on the open market. You're sitting with about a 10% chance to make the playoffs. I think it's incumbent for the general manager to do what he can do to get value. And I think he did a great job on that. I mean, you got Morgan Barron coming in. Sounds like he's a guy that certainly projects to be at least a bottom 6 player for the Jets in the years to come. And 2 second-round picks that with a little luck in the playoffs with the Rangers could turn into a first-rounder and a second-rounder. So I give him good marks on that deal. But at the same time, they didn't just want to throw the white flag up on the season. Getting Mason Appleton back for a 4th-round pick, I thought was a steal. He's a guy that has performed very well with Adam Lowry. He's a restricted free agent. I expect him to be in Winnipeg for the next couple seasons. And a 5th-rounder is a bit of a flyer on Zach Sanford, but I think they realized they needed a little bit more in their bottom 6, and they got it. The Nathan Beaulieu deal was, honestly, getting him to a spot where he might have a chance to play. Nothing really coming back. It was a conditional 7th-rounder. And then the most interesting trade was the prospect Nathan Smith, who was a Hobey Baker finalist, going to Arizona along with Brian Little's contract. And, from a Jets perspective, they found out that Smith wasn't going to be signing. He can enact something where he'll be a free agent in 30 days. So at that point, you've got to make the best of the situation. And I think from a Cheveldayoff's perspective, having the Little contract off of LTIR and off the books will certainly be a benefit in the years to come. Doesn't do anything in the short term, but overall, considering the situation, I think Cheveldayoff did a pretty good job. The questions are, should things have been done earlier to avoid being in this situation at the trade deadline with, frankly, pretty bleak playoff hopes?
Hey, bud, we got about 2 minutes left here. You are Canada's biggest Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I got to ask you, I'm sitting here just north of Miami. They're so excited about Tyreek Hill. He's met the media. He's got the meeting out of the palm of his hand, as you can well imagine. So it's all about the Dolphins here. How big of a loss is it for the Chiefs in your mind, and why did this trade happen?
Well, I mean, it came down to money. I mean, plain and simple. The Devontae Adams deal in Oakland happened, and Tyreek Hill justifiably thought that he should be near or at the top of the receiver pay distribution list. And listen, he. When they sat down with him to do this extension, they realized that they probably weren't going to be able to get to that number. I mean, if they were going to guarantee him $75 million, you're talking about a 3-year deal. You're certainly not doing that over 2 years. You're looking at, $35 million a season. And I think they were also worried that if they franchised him or if they didn't get the job done, there might be problems within the club. Now, it's a huge loss short term. I mean, it certainly is a step back. I mean, the Mahomes-Tyreek Hill combination is one of the most lethal that we've seen in a long time in the National Football League. But I'll say this about Brett Veach, and you look what the Chiefs did last year in the draft. They have drafted exceptionally well. And with the draft capital they got from this trade, along with the additions of Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS out of Green Bay, I think they're positioned to weather the blow a little bit. Listen, it's going to put a little bit more pressure on the shoulders of 15 Patrick Mahomes, but I think he's shown that he's certainly up to that challenge. And while it might be a bit of a short-term pain, I think there could be some long-term gain 2, 3, 4 seasons into the future with what they can do with this draft capital. But from a Chiefs fan standpoint, and frankly, just from an NFL standpoint, It is unfortunate to see that incredible threesome of Kelsey, Hill, and Pat Mahomes broken up. Miami fans are going to be excited to see what he can do. A lot of pressure on Tua to be able to get him the ball like Patrick Mahomes just did. But make no mistake about it, the Chiefs will still be in there. Although, I don't know where you stand on this, but you look at these offseason moves in the AFC West. On paper, this might be the strongest division I can ever remember in the NFL going into the season. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm not sure Pat Mahomes will just roll through the AFC West like he's done up until this point of his career.
You said the key word, on paper. They haven't played a game yet, so we'll see, but it's definitely stronger. Huss, where can people watch Winnipeg Sports Talk and listen?
Oh, we'll be on right after you, Rod, 1 p.m. Central on YouTube. And, of course, podcast just wherever you get your services, or on YouTube. Search Winnipeg Sports Talk like you do for RP. Hit that subscribe button. And once Rod and Darren are done their thing, pop on over to us at 1 p.m. on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks for having me, Rod.
Bingo!
Thanks, Huss. Stay cool.
You got it.
Hustler Paterson joining us from the Slurpee capital. Viewer takeover for Taco Time when we return. You're watching the RP Show on the Game Plus TV network, live streaming on YouTube and 24-hour sports radio at rodpeterson.com.
Have you subscribed to the Rod Peterson Show YouTube channel yet? Head to youtube.com/The Rod Peterson Show now.
Some of the challenges we face with the CT technology that we have today is some of the deficiencies in around integration with some of our other systems. The addition of 2 new 4D simulators within the programming, the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency is going to have significant impact on the care we provide to the people of Saskatchewan.
A legend throws 713 yards in a single pro football game.
A legend wins 3 Grey Cup MVP awards.
Allen looking deep.
A legend scores 1,209 points in 1,127 NHL games. Play among legends at betregal.net.
Don't rack your brain trying to source the equipment and materials you need for your business. Rockstar can operate your entire supply chain, from PO creation to expediting your shipments, all from our office. Leverage the buying power of the Rockstar buying group to not only save money and time, but also the headache. From gloves to glue, we can provide it for you. Find out more at rockstar.com.
Comfort has always been something we, as people, strive for. It means that the places we live and work, and that the people we care most about, are able to go about their lives focusing on the things that matter. Our focus at FlameTech has remained the same for more than 20 years. Now more than ever, we need each other to support our local businesses. As an industry leader in combustion services, we are proud to attend to the needs of our communities and support the local economy.
Are you ready? It's finally time for your next adventure, and it starts at Capital GMC. Custom order the perfect new vehicle for you, or reserve one of the hundreds that's already built and on its way. Can't wait? Get into a GM certified pre-owned vehicle that's on our lot and ready to rock. Plus, the American Export event is back and bigger than ever. We'll send your vehicle south, making you the most money for your trade. Guaranteed. Oh, and for a limited time, all name brand tires are employee priced. Only at Capital GMC. Your adventure starts here.
Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Peterson Digital Network. you will use one of the most overused expressions in sports? You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact The Rod Peterson Show today.
It's viewer takeover time, brought to you by Taco Time. Check the calendar. It is Taco Tuesday. $2 tacos at the 120-plus locations of Taco Time across Canada. That means your biggest decision will be soft or hard shell, beef or veggie. You know what we like. Get out to your Taco Time today and make lunch or supper easy. Before we do get into viewer takeover, we have breaking news on a couple of fronts. Breaking news. One sentence has moved across the Associated Press news wire, which I have just to my left. You can't see it, but I have it here. Placeline, Palm Beach, Florida. NFL owners approve rule change to guarantee a possession to both teams in overtime. New rule applies only to postseason. One sentence. I bungled it up sufficiently. I'll say it again. NFL owners approve rule change to guarantee a possession to both teams in overtime. New rule applies only to postseason.
How about that?
We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that next hour with AJ Jakubec, big NFL fan. He is the biggest fan of the Washington Commanders that I know. And also news from the CFL today, and that is that Touchdown Atlantic is returning. Coming to Nova Scotia this time, July 16th, Riders and Argos. A sports update, Seattle Thunderbirds forward Lucas Zaykovsky has been named WHL Player of the Week. The Pittsburgh Penguins prospect led all Dub skaters with 8 points in 3 outings with the T-Birds this past week, including a career-best 5-point performance on Saturday. Somebody help me out. Is he the son of former WHLer Yogi Zaykovsky? I gotta think that he is. Lucas Zaykovsky of the Thunderbirds, the Player of the Week. Red Deer Rebels goalie Chase Coward has been named WHL Goalie of the Week. The 19-year-old from Swifty posted a 2-0 record this past week, a 1.00 goals against average, and a .944 save percentage, and one shutty as Red Deer posted home ice victories over the Tigers and Broncos. Calgary Flames host the Colorado Avalanche in a battle of Western Conference division leaders tonight. Colorado leads the Central. Calgary's atop the Pacific. Also tonight, the Maple Leafs face the Boston Bruins, while the Montreal Canadiens visit the Florida Panthers, and we will be taking it in. It took an extra session, but the Toronto Raptors earned a 115-112 overtime home win over the Boston Celtics. Spicy P had a season-high 40 points. The sports update for Ballers Rec Room. Check out our brand-new line of games. And for the Tab Brewhouse and Drive-Thru Liquor Store, and for Red Bull Canada, Red Bull gives you wings. Last minute of play in hour one. Last minute of play. Ted Blues, watching on YouTube, says that interview with Hustler is why this show's so great. Tons of info and opinions. Keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you, and we will. Jeff Cabillas in Winnipeg watching says, that Huss, what a good person. He absolutely is. We don't bring on losers on this show. We only bring on our friends and good people. By the way, DG watching in the Bridge City says, morning, guys. Interesting to see the backlash from Bills fans this morning regarding the drawings for the team's new proposed stadium. Lots of complaints about it not being a full dome, and the drawing looks very similar to Regina. He says, I'm also curious about The Rock's late-night Instagram post that big announcements are coming. DG in Saskatoon. We'll talk about that next hour with AJ Jakubec, Scott Laughlin, and more.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Peterson Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Don't rack your brain trying to source the equipment and materials you need for your business. Rockstar can operate your entire supply chain, from PO creation to expediting your shipments, all from our office. Leverage the buying power of the Rockstar Buying Group to not only save money and time, but also the headache. From gloves to glue, we can provide it for you. Find out more at rockstar.com.
Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.
Are you ready? It's finally time for your next adventure, and it starts at Capital Ford. Custom order the perfect new vehicle for you, or reserve one of the hundreds that's already built and on its way. Can't wait? Get into a pre-owned vehicle that's already on the lot and ready to rock. Plus, the American Export event is back and bigger than ever. We'll send your vehicle south, making you the most money for your trade. Guaranteed. Oh, and for a limited time, all name brand tires are employee priced. Only at Capital Ford Lincoln. Your adventure starts here. Are you ready? It's finally time for your next adventure, and it starts at Capital GMC. Custom order the perfect new vehicle for you, or reserve one of the hundreds that's already built and on its way. Can't wait? Get into a GM certified pre-owned vehicle that's on our lot and ready to rock. Plus, the American Export event is back and bigger than ever. We'll send your vehicle south, making you the most money for your trade. Guaranteed. Oh, and for a limited time, all name brand tires are employee priced. Only at Capital GMC. Your adventure starts here.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
The Canadian men's soccer team is booking its ticket for Qatar. I said I would get on board if Canada made the World Cup, and they have. And I've fallen down the rabbit hole of the coach, John Herdman. John Herdman, like he's putting himself on the Mount Rushmore of Canadian sports, and he's not even from here. I love it. I love the story. Yeah, I'm late to the party. I'm on board, Moose. I said I'd get on board if they did it, and they did it.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the RP Show. It is Hour 2, proudly brought to you by Great Western Original 16 Beer, the best beer in the game. What a day. Holy smokes. You picked the perfect time to join us. We've got breaking news on a lot of fronts, and some of our best friends joining us here in Hour 2 to break it down. From the Canadian Football League, the CFL announcing this morning that Touchdown Atlantic is returning to Nova Scotia, first regular season game ever. Riders and Argos will meet on July 16th. There's that. From the National Football League and their GM meetings here in South Florida, the NFL is changing its sometimes controversial overtime rules to guarantee each side gets the ball in the playoffs. Concerned that the coin toss to begin the extra period has too much impact on postseason game results, the owners voted today to approve a proposal presented by the Colts and the Eagles. Beginning this season, if the team possessing the ball first in overtime scores a touchdown on that series, the opponent still gets a possession. In recent seasons, that touchdown would have ended the game. I can't believe the amount of people that want to talk about rule changes in both the NFL and the CFL. I'm here for it. But there are actual games going on, too. And the Florida Panthers are home tonight to the Montreal Canadiens. The head coach, Martin St. Louis of Montreal, has been given a vote of confidence by the GM, Ken Hughes, and I'm excited to watch them myself live and just see what's going on with Montreal. And so that's kind of the day's news. And let's bring in our good friend, AJ Jakubec, now the voice of the Red Blacks, Ottawa Senators pre- and post-game host, always smiling. I see you made it home from BMO Field alive, AJ. Was that one of the greatest sporting events of your life on Sunday?
I'll tell you, the entire run has been like that. Like I've been fortunate to have gone to 9 of the 13 qualifiers. And, you know, as I was telling some of my friends that maybe went to 2 or 3, I said every game that you went to was special. So no doubt the clincher was awesome, but, you know, you could talk about if you went to the 2 games in Edmonton and, you know, just seeing the games at, you know, when they were calling it the Azteca. I was fortunate to go to the Azteca in Mexico City and see them get a point, to El Salvador, where Atiba Hutchinson, 39 years old, got a goal to help them win there. Whether it's Costa Rica and they didn't win, and 500 Canadian fans went down to hopefully see them clinch, or Alphonso Davies, you know, in his incredible goal against Panama, or when they beat the United States in front of a raucous crowd in Hamilton. So the thing about this journey is it's not about one game. It's about the entirety of the process. And it's been a real special run. Can't wait to see them hopefully turn some heads in Qatar.
Well, you're awesome because you can talk about a variety of things. And for the CFL fans, we are going to get into the Red Blacks, but you've been broadcasting for the Senators for many, many years. And we were talking about Eugene Melnyk, who passed Monday at the age of 62. I've never met the guy. I know very little about the guy, but we kicked it around and said, we know a guy who would. AJ, so what can you tell us about Eugene Melnyk?
Yeah, I mean, a sad day. You certainly especially feel for his daughters who, you know, still pretty young and I believe 19 and 21 years old. So condolences to the entire Melnyk family. You know, I moved here in 2003 from out west, and you know that's the year that Eugene Melnyk bought the team. And I truly believe, if not for Eugene Melnyk, there's no NHL hockey in Ottawa right now, because when he bought the team, and some people will say he got it at a bargain basement price, and while that might be true, there weren't a lot of people lining up to buy the Ottawa Senators and keep the team in Ottawa. And here we are 19 years later, and they're still here. So I think that's the biggest thing. I can't say, you know, I interviewed him a couple of times, but can't say I had any kind of relationship with Eugene. But I do have a Eugene Melnyk story. As a fellow Ukrainian Canadian, he was very passionate about Ukraine, and certainly his last public statement had to do with Ukraine and all the ways that the hockey club was going to support them. And I was in Kiev in 2018 and 2019, and in this area that is very touristy called the Andrievsky Descent, and they have those Ukrainian dolls, right? And so I walked past a stall, and there's probably about 8 or 10 Ukrainian dolls of different sports teams, but it's all the biggest teams in the world. It's the Lakers, it's the Yankees, it's the Cowboys, and meantime, you see one of the Ottawa Senators, and you know I've got it right here for you. So there's my Erik Karlsson Ukrainian doll that I bought there. But I asked the guy, I'm like, why do you have Ottawa Senators here? And he said, well, Eugene Melnyk was here, and he walked past this stand, and he wondered why there wasn't an Ottawa Senators doll. And a couple of years later, he was back, and he made the Senators dolls, and he ended up buying one and said, well, you know, I should be getting royalties for this, right? And laughed and ended up buying one. So I bought one. The guy gave me a deal, and the guy really, really liked Eugene Melnyk, and there's no doubt Eugene has been very passionate about his support for Ukraine, and that's long before you know there was any war there. So yeah, I mean, someone that was passionate. I think the biggest thing to take from Eugene is you'd be hard pressed to find many owners. He had his faults, right? I mean, we all do. We're all flawed individuals in whatever way, but he was passionate about the Ottawa Senators team. I mean, he was certainly polarizing, especially in the last few years. You know, there were some things that angered the fan base, but he truly loved the Ottawa Senators, and no doubt he was going to do whatever it took from his standpoint to try and get them to win a Stanley Cup while he was owner.
I want to get your take on the NFL rule changes in a second as the staunch Washington Commanders fan that you are. But let's just talk for a second about the CFL in Ottawa. They seem revigorated there. They've got Jeremiah Masoli as their quarterback. This talk of the rule changes has come up. Do you have a thought? That seems to be a thing. People want to come on this show and talk about what they'd like to see change. Do you have any that you'd like if you were commissioner for a day?
I've been talking about this for a long time. For a lot of reasons, I'd like to see the 7 Canadian starters stay, but I'd like to see at least 3 on the field at all times. Because, I've seen people say, well, maybe the best Canadians aren't going to be on the field. Well, you're telling me a guy like Justin Howell can't play football? I think teams are going to be forced to use good football players, good athletes on the defensive side of the ball and get them on the field. And I don't think that's a bad thing. So from my perspective, if that helps improve the offense a little bit and changes teams to try and think outside the box a little bit more, I think that's a good thing. And there's going to be more and more good Canadians playing football. I mean, you think of Ottawa, and I don't even know if these guys are going to go NFL or what the deal is. But last year in the CFL draft, the first 2 picks that the Red Blacks had were Deshaun Stevens and Alonzo Adai, and they started last year at West Virginia. That's a Power 5 school. So, those are guys that I'd love to see come in and play. But, if we just keep doing the same thing, and you say, well, you keep dressing offensive linemen and signing offensive linemen, well, who's to say that there's enough good offensive linemen even now to fill those quotas? So I'm all for that and changing the hash marks a little bit to the inside, which seems, like the football people seem to think that that's going to make a difference, and I'll listen to them. So subtle changes to make the game better. And if those don't work, you can look a little bit more dramatic. But I like the subtle changes first and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I'm not against it when it comes to if it makes the game better. Just see if nobody's ever going to agree on everything. But here's one I'll just throw you a loop for everybody. There's getting to be more and more Canadian coaches in the CFL, and I'm talking position coaches, coordinators, and head coaches. That, by eliminating the American bias, sorry to say American coaches, but that will greatly improve the chances of Canadian players. For instance, Chris Getzlaff is as good as any American player that we had, but Chris said without the ratio, he would have never got a chance. And what he meant, I'm sure by that, was the bias against Canadian players. So we remove the bias, and they have a better chance. I mean, the ratio is a very touchy topic. Rules are one thing, ratio is another, and I get where you're coming from on that. But just before we switch to the NFL, I would assume they're excited about CFL football in Ottawa with the changes here this offseason. New GM with Sean Burke and all the rest.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job. And the behind the scenes stuff that they've done with the 3 episodes so far has been outstanding. So they're doing what they can to kind of reinvigorate this fan base. It's a good fan base. It's a real good fan base. And they've suffered through a lot of lean years in Ottawa football, going back to the Rough Riders and the Renegades. And obviously things were really good in a hurry. But with 2 bad years and sandwiched in between a COVID year where there was no football, it didn't turn people off of the CFL game. But, people were definitely saying they wanted to see changes and major changes to try and get this thing back and being competitive. It's not about being 13-5 every year or anything like that, but they want to see competitive football. They want to see good football. They want to see some offense, which, the last 2 seasons, offensively, this team was very challenged, to say the least. So I think they've made the proper changes in personnel on all sides of the ball. I think they're better, everywhere on offense. So let's see what happens. Right now, it's up to the coaching staff to make it all work. And I think the East is going to be wide open. I still think Hamilton is the favorite based on continuity and, Orlando Steinauer is the coach and Dane Evans at quarterback and some of the other talent that they have. But if you told me that any one of the 4 teams in the East was in the Grey Cup in Regina, whether it's Toronto, Montreal, Hamilton, or Ottawa, I think, you could make a realistic case for either. So that makes for exciting times in the East, and let's see how this season plays out.
We have 4 minutes. So 2 questions for you. One, the NFL overtime. People that are watching the show say they don't like the fact NFL tweaked the overtime rule today, saying it's going to stay the same in the regular season, but come playoffs beginning next year, both teams will have a chance to have their hands on the football. People saying they don't like one rule for the regular season, different for the playoffs. In hockey, they have 3-on-3 and shootouts in the regular season, not in the playoffs. It's not a big deal to me. Your thoughts on that change today, coming out of the meetings here in South Florida?
I'll keep it simple. I like it. You know what? Get it. If it's the regular season, you don't want to extend games too long, right? The season's long, so I understand you don't want to have games that go on forever. So if it's the regular season, keep it the way it is. If you want to win the game, go out and win it in regulation, or make a stop on defense, right? When it comes to the playoffs, you don't want to lose a game because of the coin toss. Now there's no excuses. To me, this is a perfect rule change. Love it.
Carson Wentz is a quarterback with the Washington Commanders. I'm not going to say necessarily the quarterback for the Washington Commanders. How do you feel about that trade?
I mean, I don't love it, to be honest. At least they didn't give up a first-round pick or anything like that. But, yeah, I mean, he got the Colts into the playoffs, though, right? I mean, Washington, if they're going to make the playoffs, it's going to be because of their defense, and maybe Wentz can game manage their way to some wins, but it certainly doesn't smell like this is the guy that's going to lead you to the promised land and lead you to some Super Bowls. So as long as this doesn't end their search for a long-term answer at quarterback, which seemingly has been the case ever since Mark Rippon 3 decades ago, then I'm okay with it as a short-term fix. But it doesn't really smell like this is the guy that's going to lead you to multiple Super Bowls.
Well, you are the big world traveler. You've been all over the globe. Have you been to Washington for a Redskins home game, or even since they haven't played a game as the Commander? You've been down there? What's it like? Yeah, 2014 was the first time. I mean, I wish I would have had a chance to get to RFK Stadium. The problem with football season is, especially my old kind of timeline, working WHL, OHL, NHL, Junior A and all that stuff. It was never really the right time or a good time to go down there and experience an NFL game until my schedule started to change when it was a lot more CFL and soccer in 2014. So I took advantage of that in 2014 and went down for a Monday nighter against the Seahawks. I mean, it's the classic suburban stadium in Landover, Maryland. There's a lot of people there that miss the old RFK Stadium and the atmosphere there. And there's, they're trying to talk about getting a new stadium once again in Washington, D.C. proper once more. So, it's kind of gone downhill in terms of the atmosphere because I think the fan base has been disgruntled about ownership for, really since Dan Snyder took over. Will that change if there's new ownership? Will it change with a new stadium? Hard to say. Certainly winning football helps, but you get the sense that until there's true culture change throughout the organization, it's always going to be a place that kind of feels, let's put it this way. There's never a bad place to watch an NFL game or football in general, but it wouldn't be top of the list next to Lambeau or the Superdome or some of the other must-see spots in the NFL. Well, it starts at the top with every team and every organization, as you know well. AJ, always good seeing your smiling face. Keep on keeping on, my good friend.
Yeah, love the background you got there in Florida, and hope you're well. And always a pleasure, Roddy. Cheers.
Thank you, bud. AJ Jakubec, the voice of the Ottawa Red Black. Hour 2 of the program is brought to you by Great Western Original 16 Beer. They're found across Western Canada, and if you're lucky, there might even be one in your fridge. Purchase at a store near you today. The Moose rejoins us after this to talk about all these things. And we'll bring you into the discussion as well on this Taco Time Taco Tuesday, $2 tacos. Let's get the viewer takeover going early. We'll be right back. You're watching across Canada on the Game Plus TV network in all 10 provinces and 31 states. And that includes Florida. Also, YouTube live streaming and 24-hour sports radio at rodpeterson.com.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Peterson Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Are you ready? It's finally time for your next adventure, and it starts at Capital Ford. Custom order the perfect new vehicle for you, or reserve one of the hundreds that's already built and on its way. Can't wait? Get into a pre-owned vehicle that's already on the lot and ready to rock. Plus, the American Export event is back and bigger than ever. We'll send your vehicle south, making you the most money for your trade. Guaranteed. Oh, and for a limited time, all name brand tires are employee priced. Only at Capital Ford Lincoln. Your adventure starts here.
Alice Cooper, the godfather of shock rock, is back. With special guest Buck Cherry. Mosaic Place, Sunday, April 10th. Get tickets now at mosaicplace.ca and sasktix.ca.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Lot of sun, smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Big time, big time, big time, big time.
Comfort has always been something we, as people, strive for. It means that the places we live and work, and that the people we care most about, are able to go about their lives focusing on the things that matter. Our focus at FlameTech has remained the same for more than 20 years. Now more than ever, we need each other to support our local businesses. As an industry leader in combustion services, we are proud to attend to the needs of our communities and support the local economy.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Peterson Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Peterson Show today.
Yes, 31 degrees in South Florida, where both the NHL GMs and NFL GMs are meeting. There's some coaches and owners mixed in there, too. It is hour 2 of the program, brought to you by a Great Western Original 16 beer, the best beer in the game. We got a couple of breaking news items today. There we go. CFL announcing the Touchdown Atlantic will be played in Wolfville, Nova Scotia, as we bring in the Moose here. Darren Moose Dupont, our lovely and talented co-host and boss. The Touchdown Atlantic will be played on July 16th. The game will mark the first time since Nova Scotia has played host to a regular season game. Ticats and Argos played there in 2005 in a preseason game. And in the National Football League, owners have approved a tweak to the overtime rule. Now both teams in the playoffs in overtime will get a chance at a possession. Until now, it has been just one, at least under the current rules. We'll get into all that in a minute. But, Darren, this is where, when we started this show 726 episodes ago, I said I want us to be the View for sports fans. And and I had to bid adieu to you last hour before I wanted to, because and I want everybody's opinion on this here. Text line 902-518-3033. Numbers on the screen. Or join the chat if you're watching on YouTube. But with these NHL GM meetings, we can sit and talk about officiating problems and rule changes. My God, you can talk about it every day to the end of time. And a lot of people do. But I want to spend a minute on the Sheldon Kennedy address to the NHL GMs on Monday with regarding what happened in Chicago with the video coach sexually assaulting one of the players. And, of course, Sheldon brought in, we all know Sheldon's story, having been abused by his junior coach, Graham James. And I read the coverage, and I should have teed you up that I was going to ask you about this, but you don't need a lot of prep. They interviewed some of the GMs after Sheldon's address on Monday, and listen, I saw Elliot Friedman on the NHL Network talking about it. I don't know if Elliot's in the room or if he was told what was going on in the room, but he said there was a questionnaire that was distributed for the GM saying, if this happened, is it appropriate? And you fill it all out and realize, oh, wait. No, it's not appropriate. It's exercises. And I've been through these things in the recovery coach mental health field. And they came out of it saying, what an eye-opener it was. Whoa, we didn't know this was going on in our organization. We didn't know that these things could go on. It's all very, very positive to talk about it. But they left the room holding hands saying, we need to have more openness in the workplaces and be open to our employees coming to us with their concern. And you noted how last hour I kind of brought that up and then we had to go to a break. I have very little faith in this. I like that they're talking about it, but I don't see it coming to fruition for my own reasons, which I'll get into after you give me your take on what went down with Sheldon at those NHL GM meetings. What do you think about that?
I think it's great to have these conversations and to talk about it. And I think it's a step in the right direction, even just addressing it and having the conversation and filling out the questionnaire or going through the exercises. And, the more we talk about it, the easier it's going to be to act on it. But I think, quite often, we have great intentions and we'll say, we need to be more open. We need to have better lines of communication. And it's one thing to say it, but it's a lot more difficult to actually put it into practice in the workplace and create environments where it's really comfortable for you to come to me with a problem or for me to stand up and say something, when I'm a junior on the staff trying to find my way in the NHL, because everybody, when you're at that level, is so scared of losing their job or not being in the NHL anymore or hanging on because it's ultra competitive. So I hope they can find a way to actually create some action, because it's one thing to say it.
Yeah, and listen, sports teams are no different than any other workplace. The people don't understand that, I don't think, because I've been involved with separation agreements with coaches and players, and especially with community-owned community-owned teams that are run by an executive board. Even those people on the executive board didn't realize that the employment terms are the same for the coach you just fired as the grocery store you run. You didn't know that? That's one thing. Now, not everything's covered up. Like I remember years ago, I had some players come to me. I'm not going to say the team or even the sport, but I had some players come to me with some concerns about the coach. I went to the general manager. It was addressed. And the coach apologized that it never happened again. It wasn't sexual harassment or abuse or anything like that. But there is, not everything's covered up is my point, but a lot of things are. And I think what the fans don't understand is that sports now is more screwed up than it's ever been. And I think it's actually getting worse because there's less jobs than there's ever been. So those jobs are more coveted. You know what I'm saying? So to protect your job, you're probably not going to say anything. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds great, and I've related it to the Rooney Rule. Pretty interesting what's coming out of the NFL GM meetings where they said, you've probably seen the tweak to that in the last 24 hours, that it's not just racial minorities now that need to be interviewed. Now we're going to include females, and it's not just that they need to be interviewed. They need to be hired. You need to have one minority on your staff. I think it's beginning this season. And the reflection on this was the Rooney Rule was brought in 2003, and it hasn't had the results that we'd hoped. There's less black coaches in the NFL than there's ever been. To see how, am I just jaded? Which is very possible. I might just be jaded. But I don't have a lot of hope that things are going to change. I just feel like you talk about it all the time. Not you, but the leaders talk about it all the time, and then we don't see the change.
Yeah, the change is always very slow, and it takes a long time. And you see it in sports. It's like if we're the Rooney Rule. We're going to interview candidates, but somebody else will hire them. I'm going to hire the guy or girl that I want to hire. We'll let somebody else take care of the ratio or take care of making sure that minorities have jobs. And that's just not, the right way to go about it. You need to have action. One thing to say it's great to have good intentions. Those are all positive steps forward, but it has to translate into some action.
Leighton, watching on YouTube, says, if you haven't read Why I Didn't Say Anything by Sheldon, go out and pick it up now. And, well, of course, I've read it, and Sheldon's a friend. I got his number in my phone. We talk about issues not relating to hockey, let's put it that way. But I think everybody probably should read that. And we'll switch gears and get around to actual sports. But this is a life thing. I haven't totally lost hope that the right steps can be taken in the right direction, but a lot of times people don't even know where to start. They don't even know where to start. And I just know with those two players that came to me 15 to 20 years ago, they knew that I was somebody they could trust, and it was dealt with, and boom, we moved on. And that was the end of that. I'm sure you want to talk about the rule changes, too. A couple things we should talk about. I see Darren Workman watching in Utah. He wants us to talk about CFL expansion beyond Atlantic Canada, and the viewers in the chat have kind of taken it over from me and just said, listen, we don't even have Halifax yet. We're not talking about that. I don't want to talk about that. I just don't. I know he comes here for the CFL coverage, but it's fake news, which reminds me that segment that we do at the start of the show where I say what they're talking about on Miami Sports Talk today. One thing I forgot, Mike McDaniel, the new coach of the Dolphins, just yesterday was asked his thoughts on the rumors of Tom Brady coming to the Dolphins. They asked the head coach of the Dolphins, what about Tom Brady coming to your team? I don't know if you saw the quote or the clip, but he said, I believe that's what they call fake news. And it's such a danged time waster and a distraction. Do you remember last week people were writing in here, Rod, what do you think about the Tom Brady? There's nothing. He's building a house here in Indian Creek. That's it. Now, having said that, yeah, go ahead. Go.
Do you know, I wish I had the guy's name in front of me, and maybe Clark can look it up, who actually came out with the report that he was going to potentially look at a move to Miami. It's the same guy who predicted him going to Tampa. I think it was a New England journalist, I think. But the same guy, I predicted him going to Tampa. That's why there's a little bit of smoke here, is because the guy would have been right once.
Because he got lucky once? Because he got lucky once?
Right. But what I thought you were bringing up was the class photo from the NHL or the NFL's GM meetings. And I don't know if you saw
I didn't bring that up, but that's funny. Of course I saw it. It was 28
Did you see Mike
coaches,
McDaniel?
4 were missing.
Did you see Mike McDaniel in the wife beater? He's got his dress shirt on, or his, Florida kind of thin dress shirt and collared shirt, and you can see his wife beater, the white underneath, standing right through it. The comments are amazing. The one comment was, "Nobody will notice, right? Nobody will notice," and you can see it plain as day. It's pretty funny.
There have been a lot of funny things going around on social media this week, and that's one of them. That photo went up of all the coaches. It was in front of a fountain, and people were saying, just please analyze this photo. There's a million things to pick out of it. 4 head coaches were missing, and I'm not sure which 4 there were. But by the way, DG in Saskatoon, I know who that is, texting the show. He also predicted that Tom Brady would go to Tampa Bay. He also did. So should we ask him what Tom Brady's next move is? Adam Schefter broke the story. Let's ask Adam Schefter if there's any chance of him going. Which, incidentally, you sent me something in the break. Was it about the rule change that you wanted to talk about in the NFL?
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly you're in favor of it.
It was just a screenshot. I just saw it was breaking news, and then you actually brought it up on the show before AJ came on, or in the viewer takeover segment. I think it was, it's interesting that they aren't going to do it for the regular season, and they're going to just bring it in the playoffs. Everybody gets a touch, and I think it's funny. I'm wearing a tennis bunny hug or hoodie today because it's a little bit similar. You can't lose a tennis match until your serve is broken. You always get a chance to serve. And it's now the same thing in football for the playoffs. You always get a chance to go on offense, to serve. And you won't lose a game unless that serve is broken, unless your offense is beat by the defense. So I think it's good. I think it'll make a lot of fans happy. I think we're still going to hear some grumbling about it in the regular season, but I like moving it in for the playoffs. It's probably just a gateway drug towards doing it for the regular season down the road. But, unless you end up in a situation where the games are extremely long, like that Kansas City-Buffalo game, if they would have went back and forth for, another 40 minutes or something like that, then, uncle, we need some sort of tiebreaker rule. But until we see that, I think it'll be fine.
Sports bars would have loved it, though. I remember the game, whichever Super Bowl it was in New Orleans, that the power went out. Remember that? It was the Ravens and the 49ers.
And 49ers.
It was Jim Harbaugh's 49ers against John Harbaugh's Ravens, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and Colin Kaepernick was in that game. And I just remember watching it at the Four Seasons with the Greek Freak, and he's like, this is the greatest thing ever. It was a 59-minute power outage, more wings, more beer, more pizza. He's like, the second this thing's over, this place is emptying. And he was right. So they would have been happy to have in the playoffs to go on and on and on. From the viewers in the chat, Chris Bird's watching in King City, Ontario, and he says systemic racism takes many years to dismantle. I'll counter that with, how do you know? It's never been done. You might say it's impossible to dismantle because it's never been done. Chris goes on to say people are more interested in fake news. By the way, the Boston Pride won the Isabel Cup last night. People are more interested in fake news. I'll give you that one. For sure. That's what I was trying to manufacture for years and years and years in the CFL and had my hands held on the hot stove. Shut up, Rod. Stop. Quit manufacturing this off-season news. Okay, I'm done. Done. So there is a difference between fake news and tabloid news. I looked it up. Fake news is deliberately misleading news. And that Tom Brady news was deliberately misleading news. He was never coming to Miami. So again, that's a time waster. To sit and like ESPN does every day and say, who's the bigger loss? Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs or Devontae Adams from the Packers? That's not fake news. But that's gossip and tabloid talk. There's a difference.
Yeah.
I'll end it on this. Randy watching in Winnipeg from the Peg. He says, people must not be afraid to speak out. But people are, because the higher-ups never believe them and hide things under the rug. To the people who speak out, I will always respect you. Absolutely. By the way, on all of that, what's popped into my head, just started watching the Netflix series Feel Good starring your crush, Mae Martin. Can I say that? You think she's cute? From last one laughing. Started watching it last night. It's very good. And in the show, she plays a recovering drug addict. And her parents spilled the beans, and she's all embarrassed with the person that she's dating. And the girl that she was dating said, we got to go? Okay, we'll pick this up in overtime. Park's telling me to shut up. We'll be back. Moose, I'll see you in overtime, okay?
Sounds good.
There's a cliffhanger for you. Scott Laughlin.
Yeah, no kidding. I want the rest of the story.
SiriusXM NHL Radio right after this on Game Plus TV and 24-hour sports radio at rodpeterson.com.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Peterson Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Big time, big time, big
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Are you ready? It's finally time for your next adventure, and it starts at Capital Ford. Custom order the perfect new vehicle for you, or reserve one of the hundreds that's already built and on its way. Can't wait? Get into a pre-owned vehicle that's already on the lot and ready to rock. Plus, the American Export event is back and bigger than ever. We'll send your vehicle south, making you the most money for your trade. Guaranteed. Oh, and for a limited time, all name brand tires are employee priced. Only at Capital Ford Lincoln. Your adventure starts here.
A legend throws 713 yards in a single pro football game.
A legend wins 3 Grey Cup MVP awards.
Allen looking deep.
A legend scores 1,209 points in 1,127 NHL games. Play among legends at betregal.net.
Universal Collision Center is Saskatchewan's premier auto body shop. Our extensive process ensures that every vehicle that comes through our state-of-the-art facilities is returned pre-accident condition, and that every UCC customer experience is an easy one. We're certified to repair all makes, all models, and all luxury brands, and Universal Auto Spa offers full-service detailing packages to suit you and your vehicle. Plus, we're the official body shop of your Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Universal Collision Center, 3910 Rochdale Boulevard and 2355 First Avenue in Regina.
Don't rack your brain trying to source the equipment and materials you need for your business. Rockstar can operate your entire supply chain, from PO creation to expediting your shipments, all from our office. Leverage the buying power of the Rockstar buying group to not only save money and time, but also the headache. From gloves to glue, we can provide it for you. Find out more at rockstar.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
It's the RP Show, episode number 726 of Daytime Sports and Entertainment Talk, and we roll on chatting a little NHL now with our good friend Scott Laughlin, SiriusXM NHL Radio. He always has the interesting shirts on, so I can't wait. Did you surprise us with a Rowdy Piper or a Dallas Cowboys? You did. Scott, what's up, dude?
Well, I tell you what, Rod, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I just purchased last week a Ric Flair t-shirt. It says Flair just above the heart. And on the back, it's got word for word his famous speech, "You're talking to the limousine, riding, Rolex wearing, I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down," speech. So it's funny you mentioned that. I'll have to sport that the next time. Today, just a boring blue. That's just a boring blue.
It always looks good, my friend. Hey, I'm interested your take. I actually really want your take on Kyle Dubas's comments after Monday's NHL GM meetings about Austin Matthews not getting the calls. There's only been 9 calls he's drawn, penalties against him, versus Connor McJesus' 44th, which leads the NHL. Our poll question today is, do the Leafs have a legitimate beef? And almost 80% of respondents for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center say no, they don't have a legitimate beef. What do you think about that?
No, I voted, Rod, and I voted for no. I mean, this is not the NBA. This is not Michael Jordan just getting barely touched on the wrist and all of a sudden he's going to the line. This is the NHL. I think every player has pretty much been treated fairly. This is another indication of not only coaches lobbying, but in this case, a general manager lobbying for his player, lobbying for that next game, lobbying for the next call. I think it stands out maybe with Austin Matthews because he has the puck so much. I think it stands out, when Connor McDavid's not getting all the calls because he has the puck so much and nobody on the ice can really catch him. So I think that it stands out because of the players that they are. They're superstars and they've got the puck on their stick a whole bunch. And maybe because of that, it seems like they're not getting calls. I don't think this is anywhere close to what the NBA goes through and, guys go into the line because of reputation. I think whether you're a first liner or you're a fourth liner, I think if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's not, it's not. Now, the days of Chris Pronger saying, I'm going to foul as much as I can, because certainly they can't call everything, Rod. Those days have long gone past, of course. And we look at the NHL, it's a different league altogether in the way that it's called, the way that it's played, those sorts of things. So I don't really think in this case that Kyle Dubas has got a leg to stand on. I really don't.
Did you get into this in your show, Scott? Because you and I are about the same age, and I love the youngsters singing, what about Gretzky? What about back then? Like, Wayne kind of had to take it upon himself, but he had the policeman beside him. That's a different era, too. Like, just Wayne, he got hacked and whacked quite a bit. And he was thought of as a whiner, but compare Wayne's era to now and what Wayne went through.
Well, the interesting thing is, I look at Wayne, and you're right, Rod. We watched Wayne as a young guy come in, and he got this rap of being, like you say, a whiner, a big baby, always complaining to the officials. Crosby had the same knock on him when he came in, right? And now we're starting to revere Crosby towards the latter stages of his career like we did with Wayne before him. So you're right, it was a different game back then. You had some protection. You had guys who could step in and take care of things. And, you didn't want to get too close to Gretzky, as we know, back in the heyday, because it was Dave Semenko, God rest his soul. It was Dave Lumley. Later, it was Marty McSorley. If you were going to get near Wayne, then you had to answer to those guys. The game has changed markedly, no question about it. The other thing as well, in watching Wayne Gretzky play for all those years that we did, Rod, he was slippery. Like he could slip checks out there. Other than Bill McCreary and that fateful hit that one night on a Saturday at Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, nobody really was able to hit Wayne for the reasons that we've already mentioned, and also because he was a slippery sort. Just think modern-day Johnny Gaudreau. You would think for a guy the size of Johnny Gaudreau that he would take much more physical punishment than he endures on a nightly basis. He's also the type of guy that's able to kind of get in and get out of spots, very, very slippery on the ice. Johnny Gaudreau, like Wayne Gretzky before him, is a very, very tough guy to hit.
Hey, buddy, you got one coming in Connor Bedard, who very rarely gets hit. I almost nicknamed him the mouse because he shimmies through these little cracks. He's very hard to pin down, but he did get hit from ankle to shoulder, cutting into the middle one night against Brandon. I almost ran onto the ice to see if he was okay. But Connor Bedard has that. He's got that knack. Scott, I'm sure you talked about it all morning, but what will Eugene Melnyk be remembered for?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, Rod? Because we think back on Eugene and we think back to the last couple of years, and everybody looks back to the outdoor game at Parliament Hill, and he had those comments that certainly seemed to make him be separate from the fan base itself. And I don't think that he was, towards the end, looked upon the same way. Unfortunately, because of that, there seemed to be a divide between he and the fan base, a fan base that, quite frankly, before that was firmly behind him. They were basking in the afterglow of going to the Stanley Cup final back in 2007, losing out to Anaheim in 5 games. I think when you go back to when he first took over, he was seen as a bit of a savior as well, because of the fact that in 2003, with that team, in or around bankruptcy, there was continued speculation that the Ottawa Senators were going to go south. And he came in the nick of time, and he saved the franchise, and he kept hockey in our national capital. So I think it's interesting to see how he developed and progressed over the years, or digressed, depending on your impression. I think ultimately there's a side of him that probably not many people saw. I know in Toronto, he was a graduate of St. Michael's College School. I know before I got back into radio and working at Global Television in Toronto, I went over to St. Mike's to do a story on the fact that he donated $2 million to that school so they could build an outdoor facility, sort of an outdoor during the summer, indoor with a bubble over top during the winter facility, so that students and athletes could train at St. Michael's College School. Just things like that he would do that would be very, very generous. We know towards the end, for obvious reasons, he was supporting Ukraine in its continuing efforts, of course, to thwart off Russia. So I think a bit of a mixed bag towards the end. Unfortunately, the last couple of years haven't been great for Eugene Melnyk in the eyes of the fan base there in Ottawa. But let's not forget again, there would be no hockey in Canada's national capital if he didn't arrive in the nick of time going back to 2003 to ostensibly save the franchise.
forget about a Stanley Cup final prediction. I'm going to ask you for a Final Four, and I'll go first. We spent half our time in Calgary. You can imagine what they're saying. I'll say a Calgary-Colorado West final and a Florida-Toronto East final. They'd love to see Flames Leafs. Who do you, or have you thought about who might be your Final Four?
Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with Calgary and Colorado. I picked the Avalanche. I did take that low-hanging fruit before the season began, and I said I'm going to take the Avalanche to win the Stanley Cup, just as I said last year, Rod, that they'd win the Stanley Cup. Last year, they let me down. They let themselves down. I can see the Flames and Avalanche. They appear to be on a collision course at this point. In the East, I think the two teams we'll see going at it tonight, Carolina and Tampa, is what I've got in the Eastern Conference Final. I can see that crossover between the divisions, obviously, with Carolina and Tampa Bay contesting the Eastern Conference. So in the end, ultimately, I'm going to go with Colorado facing the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning come up just short in trying to three-peat and become the first team to do so since the New York Islanders back in the 1980s in the midst of their dynasty, of course. So I'm going to go with Colorado over Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay to beat Carolina and Colorado to beat Calgary as far as the semifinals go.
Well, very unpopular picks in the markets where we're broadcasting the show from, Calgary and South Florida. But hey, it's going to be fun no matter what. Scott, always good, man. Love it. Keep up the great work.
All right, you too, Rod. Thanks very much.
The great Scott Laughlin. Score alum. Lives forever. The Score. We'll be back with Viewer Takeover in overtime with the Moose. Stick around right after this quick break. You're watching on the Game Plus TV network, which is run by a lot of old Score guys and gals. And also, if you missed any portion of the show, you can always catch the podcast wherever you enjoy your podcasts, including Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify, and 24-hour sports radio at rodpeterson.com.
Have you subscribed to the Rod Peterson Show YouTube channel yet? Head to youtube.com/The Rod Peterson Show now.
Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.
Some of the challenges we face with the CT technology that we have today is some of the deficiencies in around integration with some of our other systems. The addition of 2 new 4D simulators within the programming of the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency is going to have significant impact on the care we provide to the people of Saskatchewan.
Comfort has always been something we, as people, strive for. It means that the places we live and work, and that the people we care most about, are able to go about their lives, focusing on the things that matter. Our focus at FlameTech has remained the same for more than 20 years. Now more than ever, we need each other to support our local businesses. As an industry leader in combustion services, we are proud to attend to the needs of our communities and support the local economy.
People donate blood for moments like this.
But there are lots of reasons why Canada's Lifeline needs donors every day.
Like the fact that someone with leukemia can need up to 8 units of blood a week.
Or that donated blood lasts no longer than 42 days.
Or to help new moms and babies, like Henry.
There's lots of reasons to donate blood. That's why we need donors every day.
The need for blood is constant. Join Toyota and our Toyota dealers in supporting Canada's Lifeline.
Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Experts in all residential and commercial plumbing services and proudly serving Regina and area since 1978. Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We'll treat you right.
Don't rack your brain trying to source the equipment and materials you need for your business. Rockstar can operate your entire supply chain, from PO creation to expediting your shipments, all from our office. Leverage the buying power of the Rockstar Buying Group to not only save money and time, but also the headache. From gloves to glue, we can provide it for you. Find out more at rockstar.com.
Are you ready? It's finally time for your next adventure, and it starts at Capital GMC. Custom order the perfect new vehicle for you, or reserve one of the hundreds that's already built and on its way. Can't wait? Get into a GM-certified pre-owned vehicle that's on our lot and ready to rock. Plus, the American Export event is back and bigger than ever. We'll send your vehicle south, making you the most money for your trade. Guaranteed. Oh, and for a limited time, all name brand tires are employee priced. Only at Capital GMC. Your adventure starts here.
Hey, Rod Squad. Now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show. Official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
One more time. It's overtime, brought to you by the Four Seasons Sports Palace. You know they'll have the Leafs game on tonight. Leafs at Boston. They're your home for the NHL and the UFC as we bring the Moose in. Couple fun things we're going to do here, Moose, in overtime. Taco Time viewer takeover. Jeff, the Stamps fan, wrote in and wanted to know why Scott Laughlin of SiriusXM NHL Radio hates the Flames. The viewers are taking care of him. The people in the chat, they're handling it. So thank you, Ryan and Chris in King City, Ontario. Thank you for that. Another thing, we've had 3 guests today, AJ Jakubec, Hustler Paterson, and Scott Laughlin. In the next 7 minutes, folks, write in via the 902 text line or the chat on YouTube and tell me who the rock star of the day is for Rockstar Supply Chain Solutions. On Monday, it was Dan O'Toole, Toolsy, not a surprise. You folks want to tell me? I don't want to anoint it anymore. And by the way, Taco Tuesday today, $2 tacos all across Canada at the 120-plus locations of Taco Time. Whew. What's on your mind, Moose?
Go to our Instagram story if you haven't already. I shared this from Taco Time. You know how you put up the meme, the Will Smith, Chris Rock, Bedard, RP show slapping meme? They put one up, and I shared it. And Chris Rock was tater tots, and Will Smith was Mexi fries. It's pretty good.
So good. That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay, so tell us
tater tots.
Well, maybe Taco Time's the rock star of the day. How about that?
They could be.
So tell us via the chat and the text line, and it's fun to talk about the Stanley Cup. I just think that, not to say if there is a God, there'll be a Calgary, Florida Stanley Cup, because there is a God. But if there's hockey God, which there are, will they find a way for it to be a Calgary, Florida Stanley Cup? Or Toronto, in which case your Leafs would be in it. We'd have to go to Toronto to do the show. We're getting all kinds. Right way, it's a 3-way tie right now. Wayne in Victoria says Scott Laughlin, Rockstar of the Day for Rockstar Supply Chain Solutions. Ryan in New York says AJ. Ted Blues says Hustler for me. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I didn't want to make the call on this. I'm getting more and more and more into Drive to Survive, so thank you, Moose. It took a little while to get into it, but it's the whole thing. You're starting to know the drivers' rights. You're starting to cheer for them, and Lance Stroll, you'd think he was a spoiled kid because his dad owns the team, but he's actually not a spoiled kid. He's actually winning a little. You know what I mean? And yeah, so that's cool. But feel good with Mae Martin, just to go back to where we were the earlier. I know she's not your crush, but you felt that she was cute. And that's cool. She is.
She is.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the show yet, so now I got to watch it.
Oh, it's funny. It's very funny. She's a Canadian comedian living in the United Kingdom, stand-up comic. And anyway, she's a recovering drug addict. And she goes out of great lengths to keep that a secret from everybody. And the gal that she's dating says to her roommate, why did she keep this from me? I didn't know she was a drug addict. She looks so great. She looks so healthy. She looks so happy. Yeah, that's the point. That's what recovery does. But I'm kind of sitting back going, oh, I see why people don't want it out there. Because of the stigma, right? So it's and that's just the first 2 episodes, man. But it's funny and it's interesting. So what are you streaming now? I know I asked you the other day, but tell me again.
I actually just wrapped up Reacher, which I think you're now getting into a little bit. So I just wrapped up Reacher, which was awesome. I'm watching a little Drive to Survive, trying to catch up on that. And actually, I started the new one on Crave, and I can't remember what it's called. The viewers can help me out. It's the one on the LA Lakers and their dynasty in the 80s when they started becoming champs. Jerry West was the coach. He's out. And who was the opposite of Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights? Shake and Bake?
Chris Rock.
No, John C. Reilly.
Right.
He's in it. He's the owner, the new owner who comes in and buys the LA Lakers. I just started it. I'm a couple episodes in. It is fantastic.
Is Winning Time? Winning Time?
Winning Time.
Is that it?
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, okay. I just went to the big board. Okay, we've got something new to watch on Netflix. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Aaron B., watching on YouTube, says, my buddy chooses not to watch F1 because he doesn't want to ruin Drive to Survive. Jennifer from the Four Seasons says, I'd have to say Scott Laughlin because he doesn't have the Flames winning the cup. Ha, ha, ha. Laughing, crying emoji for Rock Star of the Day. Scott's always great. I was thinking about this morning. I did a very DuPont type thing way back in about 04, 05 when I started working at the Score TV network in Toronto. When I was in Toronto, I went down to the Score on King Street and went around the whole building and stuck my hand out and introduced myself to everybody there. The producers, the news directors, the editors, the reporters, the anchors, the whole thing. I'm not sure I would do that now. Nice. I'm much more of an introvert. I was much more like you 20 years ago. But anyways, a lot of those guys and gals are running Game Plus TV right now.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think this channel is so great, because it's got actual broadcasters running it. Why it's so much fun. What do you got going on in the next 24 hours, man?
Oh, man, I got to dive into this show. I mean, we had a great show today, and kind of, getting ready for the stretch run in the NHL playoffs. I have a meeting with our folks at Bet Regal. We've got some stuff coming down the pike for the show tomorrow. So get ready.
Cynthia in Pittsburgh says you need to be rock star of the day because of your bunny hug. I'm going to the Panthers and the Habs tonight. We'll tell you all about it tomorrow, noon Eastern, right here on Game Plus TV. I never told you to shut up. Well, a couple times.
Yeah.